The first time I saw her, she was suspended in the zero-gravity chamber of the prison transport, her small hands clutching the bars of the containment pod. Her eyes, luminescent blue, flecked with violet, stared at me with a mixture of fear and defiance. I had only been hired as a salvage operator on the outskirts of the Andromeda sector, not a hero, not a rescuer, but something about her presence made my pulse quicken. The transport had been raided by space pirates, but not in the typical way. There was no violence, no gunfire. The ship simply dropped out of warp near an uncharted moon, and I, following a distress signal, found it drifting in the void. The pirates, it seemed, had left their prey behind, either thinking no one would find her or underestimating the reach of a human curiosity I didn't even know I possessed. I activated my suit's magnetic grapple and floated inside. The transport's corridors were narrow, metallic, and smellless, almost antiseptic in their emptiness. There was no resistance, only the soft hum of the life support systems and the gentle whir of the ship's engines winding down. I approached the pod and studied her carefully. You're not going to hurt me, are you?" she whispered, her voice musical yet trembling. "Not unless I have to," I replied, trying to sound braver than I felt. "I'm here to get you out." Her small nod was almost imperceptible, but it was enough. I worked quickly, hacking the containment lock. The pod hissed and released her with a soft clunk. She floated toward me, instinctively reaching for a hand to steady herself. Our hands met. Her skin was cool, smooth, almost fragile. I could feel her heart beating against mine, faster than mine was for her. Once she was free, I led her back to my ship. She didn't speak much, only glancing around at my vessel with cautious awe. I couldn't blame her. Humans were rare in this sector, and my ship, with its patched panels and slightly crooked engines, probably seemed as alien to her as she was to me. The journey back to her home world was tense. Every jump through hyperspace felt like a countdown to some unseen danger. She didn't tell me her name, nor did she speak of her people at length, but her presence was magnetic. By the time we approached her planet, I realized that I wasn't just bringing her home. I had come to care for her in ways I couldn't explain. Her planet, Serythia, was breathtaking. Floating crystal cities gleamed under 3 suns, suspended over oceans of liquid silver. Her people, tall, ethereal beings with iridescent skin, watched us arrive with wide, calculating eyes. It was the alien equivalent of a royal welcome, and my heart sank when I realized the weight of what I had done. I had no idea what protocol demanded of a human in their royal court. The princess was immediately escorted from my ship by her attendants. She turned to me one last time, her violet-flecked eyes searching mine. There was gratitude there, yes, but also something more. Something unspoken. And then she was gone. It wasn't long before I was summoned to the palace. I expected a formal audience, perhaps a lecture, maybe even a trial for overstepping interstellar boundaries. Instead, I was greeted by her mother, the Queen of Serythia. She was taller than anyone I'd ever met, regal and radiant, with eyes that seemed to pierce through the layers of my soul. "Human," she said, her voice deep and resonant. "You have done something most would consider reckless, and yet undeniably brave." I couldn't let her die, I said, feeling suddenly small in the vast throne room. The Queen studied me for a long moment. "Yes, and for that, you have earned my attention. Most humans are fragile creatures, predictable, bound by their fears. But you are different." Before I could respond, she stepped closer, her aura commanding yet gentle. "I have a tradition among my people. When someone saves my child, they are offered a choice, to leave and forget this place, or to accept a bond with the Serythian royal line." I blinked, unsure what that meant. A bond? I asked cautiously. She reached out, brushing a hand against my arm, and I felt a warmth that transcended the physical. I offer myself to you, she said simply, as your companion, your ally, perhaps more, if your heart is willing. The words hung in the air like a comet, beautiful and terrifying. My mind raced. This was a queen, the ruler of an entire world. I was just me, a human salvage operator. How could I even begin to comprehend such an offer? I don't know what to say, I admitted, my voice barely audible. You don't need to say anything, she replied with a soft smile. Your actions have already spoken. You saved her because it was the right thing to do. That is all that matters. I wanted to ask her everything, why she chose me, what this bond entailed, but instead, I simply nodded. Somehow, that seemed enough. In the days that followed, I was introduced to the intricacies of Serythian life. I learned their language, their customs, even their ways of governing. And through it all, the queen remained near, patient, guiding me without force, allowing me to find my place beside her naturally. The princess, meanwhile, never stopped looking at me with those violet-flecked eyes. There was no fear now, only trust, and occasionally a mischievous smile that made my chest tighten. It was clear she understood more than she let on. One evening, as we watched the twin moons rise over the crystal spires, the queen spoke again. You may leave, human. You have fulfilled your duty and learned our ways. But if you stay, you will be more than a visitor. You will be family. I hesitated, my gaze drifting to the princess. Then I looked back at the queen, seeing not just a ruler, but a woman who had chosen me against all reason, who had recognized courage and heart where others saw nothing. I want to stay, I said finally. Her smile was radiant, and she extended her hand. Then it is done. That night, I walked through the palace gardens with her, the air filled with the scent of alien blooms and the soft hum of bioluminescent insects. The princess ran ahead, laughing, and I realized that in saving her, I had found more than duty. I had found a home, a family, and perhaps even a love I could never have imagined. The days became weeks, and with each one, my understanding of the Serythian people deepened. I learned their history, their triumphs, and their tragedies. And through it all, the queen never forced the bond upon me, never demanded my affection. She allowed it to grow naturally, like a fragile crystal forming in zero gravity. Eventually, there came a day when the queen spoke words that would stay with me forever. Human, you have saved my daughter and chosen to stay with us. For that, you have my heart, and I trust you will protect this world as you protected her. You are no longer merely a visitor. You are one of us. I bowed my head, feeling the weight of the honor and the responsibility. I will do my best, I said earnestly. And in that moment, as the three suns set over Serythia, I realized that life could change in the blink of an eye, that courage could lead to unimaginable reward, and that sometimes the universe itself seemed to conspire to bring the right people together at the right time. I had saved the alien princess, and in doing so, I had been offered a destiny I had never dared to dream of. The queen took my hand, and for the first time in my life, I understood that some gifts were not given lightly, and some bonds were meant to last across stars and lifetimes. I looked at her, and she looked at me, and in her eyes, I saw a promise of trust, of loyalty, and perhaps, one day, of love that would span galaxies. And so I stayed, not as a human outsider, but as a part of something far greater than myself.